Hello and welcome, dear viewer, to my channel. Today in our video, I will tell you what stories people have sent me in the mail. My wife with a man at a hotel. What to do. My wife and I have overcome many difficulties in our 16-year marriage. But now she's had an affair. 3 of our children are healthy and well-mannered. We married out of love. Our love has grown since we married, and people who know us adore our family. I'm a teacher and my wife runs the family store. I'm a family man who will always be there for my wife and children. My wife and I are quite open with one another. We can discuss any subject and often have long conversations deep into the night. She's loyal to her family, a kind wife, and a good mother. She's well liked by her friends and family as well. And yet, despite all of this, a terrible tragedy has occurred. If I hadn't seen it for myself, I wouldn't have believed it. One day my wife informed me that she had to visit her hometown 16 kilometers from our home. I continued to teach my kids at home that day. I always put my trust in her and make sure she has enough time and space to hang out with her friends after a long day of work. In addition to love, I always tell her that trust is crucial. We would both suffer if either of us did anything to violate that trust. That day I felt a strange and unfamiliar anxiety, so I checked my GPS for my wife's location. It turned out that she was not on the way to her hometown, but was in an entirely different location. A cold chill ran through my spine. I took my bike and followed the GPS. It took me to a motel. When I called my wife, she said she was in her hometown and about to come back. I hoped that the GPS was malfunctioning and that my wife was really still in her hometown. However, when I saw my wife coming out of the motel with another man, I was shattered. I called her and asked both to stop, but she and that man drove away quickly. I was frozen. I couldn't believe what was happening to me. I had been completely devoted to my wife and kids, even putting them above myself. What did I do wrong to deserve this? I came home and my wife arrived a while later. She cried, telling me she met the man purely for business reasons. They had lunch and had some drinks. Afterwards, she said they lost control and went to a motel. She said it was only her second time meeting him and she did not expect things to escalate so quickly. I checked the messages on her phone and it appeared that what she said was true. The following day, I asked to meet him and he agreed. He admitted that he was wrong, that he went to the motel with my wife, but purely for business reasons. He apologized, asking me to be more generous and not make a fuss about it. He said that would affect other people, particularly our children. He told me he and my wife did not have sex, but I had already seen some marks that he'd left on my wife's body. He insisted that it was my wife who initiated the episode when she was alone in a car with him. I haven't been able to sleep since that day. I'm in such a bad mood all the time I can't work. I can't understand why my wife cheated on me. I'm in pain. I've never felt the true feeling of betrayal until now. My wife has shown remorse and appears to regret it. She has apologized and said she was very sorry for everything that happened and for breaking my trust. She was grateful that I did not make waves, and added that she would accept any decision I made while also pleading for me to give her another chance. I still love my wife and kids very much. I decided to give her a second chance even though I was in so much pain. I was furious with the man for having sensual relations with my wife. He is an authority official in my wife's hometown. I have all evidence, a photo of him and my wife at the motel, a recording of a conversation between him and my wife, and the mark that he left on my wife's body. I even tested it for a DNA sample. The main problem is that he's from my wife's hometown. If I make a stink out of this, his reputation, career, and family would be hurt. And so would my wife's. She said she could never face her family and relatives again if people found out. In everyone else's eyes, my wife and I are an ideal couple. But if I don't do something, I'll feel helpless, restless, cowardly. I'm in a bad dilemma and feel I can't talk to anyone. I share this story with all you readers so I can feel less burdened, and hope you can give me sensible, sincere advice so I can find the best solution and overcome this crisis. My husband won't work because his parents support us. I'm 30, my husband is 34, and our son is 2. We are living in Saigon, in a house that was bought by my parents-in-law as a wedding gift. Since our marriage, my husband hasn't worked because he wants to be free from stress. He enjoys his daily tasks, including picking up our son from school and feeding the fish. He gives me a fixed monthly expense of VND $15,612 that he receives from his parents. They give him the money in small payments so that he can't spend it all at once. He spends his own money and doesn't touch my income. My husband has a sister who is living in the U.S. She refused inheritance from her parents because her financial situation is stable. My parents-in-law are over 70. They own 2 townhouses for rent and a house in an alley where their relatives live for free. They've assigned my husband the job of managing their rentals, and I don't intervene. I just do my job and get my own money. I've told my husband to get a job many times because he has too much free time, but he didn't listen to me. He thinks he will soon inherit properties from his parents and said it's not necessary to work hard. He told me to keep working if I want or stay home with him. He also told me to stop telling him to go to work. When I worry about possible financial difficulties in life, he says he can always ask his parents to give me a few $100 million dong. I feel that my husband is not being responsible for our own family, and I'm afraid that he'll waste his inheritance. I'm insecure about my girlfriend. I met my girlfriend as a colleague working for our former employer. I didn't have much of an impression of her at first, but I didn't like her for any reason. Then we went on a few dates to the movies and eventually even went traveling together. That's when I developed feelings for her and decided to pursue her seriously. We then dated for almost 5 years, and the whole time I tried and failed to get her to be my girlfriend. She relented after 5 years and finally agreed to officially become my girlfriend. It's worth mentioning that when things began between us, I was utterly desperate. I had no money and was stuck in a dead-end career, all the while spending all my free time caring for my sick father who had been a vegetable for years. When my new girlfriend accepted a struggling man like me, I really appreciate it. I thought she would bring me happiness. But things were not as they seemed. Since becoming a couple, we've spent far less time together. We've seen each other 3 times over the last 2 months, even though we live only 12 kilometers from each other. We only go out on special occasions, such as my birthday, or when her favorite movies are released. I used to work with her, so I know how busy she is. But I've still held on to the faint hope that we could at least go on one date only once a week. But it hasn't been possible. She regularly rejects my invitations by saying she's busy. Sometimes she says she's busy discussing business with friends. Other times she says she's visiting relatives or she was sick. Sometimes she just said, "I'm too lazy to go out," and that makes me wonder. I don't think that's a persuasive reason not to see your boyfriend. In good relationships, lovers make an effort to see each other. For our most recent would-be date, she asked me 2 days ago, but then she canceled a few hours before we were supposed to meet. She said she had a toothache and had made a dentist appointment to have it removed. Later that day, after seeing the dentist, she said she was too tired to see me. I didn't want to listen to another word from her. So I told her to rest at home and call me when she felt better. It would have been selfish to ask her to go out when she was in pain, but I was so disappointed because we hadn't seen each other in over a month. I had planned to take her home to meet my parents, but honestly, now I've lost hope. I know I should trust my girlfriend, but trust must be built by spending time together. I'm so insecure about this relationship. I still tell my family that I'm single. I'll only take her home once I'm sure about everything, but I feel she's being dishonest with me about something. My friends have encouraged me to treasure this girl who has been by my side when I had nothing. They advise me to be patient with her. But I wonder how patient I can be when I continue to have doubts about this relationship again and again. I still love and appreciate her, but I also fear that she will grow bored and betray me one day. Even though I'm over 30 years old now, this is the first time I've been in a serious relationship. I'm afraid that trying any harder will only push her away. He treats me like a lover but says we're just friends. I'm a 27-year-old office worker in Da Nang. He's older than me. We live 6 kilometers from each other. We usually have fun hanging out, and I feel so comfortable and happy by his side. We stick to each other like glue, like an ideal couple that people often admire. It's 6 or 7 years since it started, and we've met each other's parents. Other couples in our position would have been thinking about marriage, but for us, it's different. He doesn't consider me his girlfriend. He introduces me as a close sister to everyone, even though we do things as a couple. Sometimes he texts other girls, but their conversation doesn't last long. He's been like that since the beginning. I'm broken-hearted, but what am I to question him? I don't know if I should stay in this relationship. Write in the comments what you think about these stories. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video if you like it. Also put a bell so you don't miss new videos. See you soon.